So these are some of my pet peeves. I love to listen because everybody has something to teach. Everybody has the inner wisdom. Information now, whether it be biblical, whatever, it causes a lot of conflicts with people. Way back now, going back to now, we started on episode 6 to talk about religion and Ma'at. I got some comments. Randy, you need to read the Bible. Well, I read the Septuagint, which is the construction of the Bible. So for those who are listening and hiding, from this point onwards, the people who speak about the Septuagint, the Maxim of Ptahhotep, Ma'at, Imhotep, Akhenaten, the Temple of Unas, these are the free people. The people who talk about everything else are the people in bondage. The people who talk about astrotheology are the free people. Kabbalah, these are the free people because they're going back to the science from where it came. The people who talk about the secondary information are the people who are living a secondary cosmology. So going into this future of 2022, you mustn't talk about the Bible anymore. You must look at the Septuagint. Get a copy of that. Read that. Read that. So nobody never told us about these things. The Septuagint is where the Bible came from. So read that one. Around 1984, that's when it was translated. It reads beautifully. So a lot of times you hear slave-minded people say Bible, but they don't look at the things before it was revised for its purity. The further back you can go is the more true the information is. And this is why when we find information written in stones before they say teacher says it, it becomes a problem. And this is the kind of things we have to do. So as we grow as human beings, we have to go back, Sankofa. And I had the ability to go back because of my discipline and also the teachers that also went back. So 90% of our people that are around us really should be humbled that if they put hashtag the new black mind in Google and you take some time, hashtag the new black mind, and you take some time, you can start to understand more about the cosmology of what you're talking about. Right? So, my people, it's about listening, it's about learning, and it's about loving. It's about letting go of what you used to know so you can grow. And in this time, when information is all around, we have to reduce the sound, take our time, and be humble. As we as human beings, we're moving into a new era. And the children were born with a new consciousness. So they cannot relate to what our grandmothers used to think. So if we don't get our act together, as opposed to what we know and how we teach it, we're going to lose the children. So we always have to go back and fetch old information. And that's why you see this journey is important. So Jamaica Good Life, after we've preserved the herbs, we promoted land ownership and we upload the cultural information. The next part of my job was to bring you guys information that could help you to have a good mind. My purpose was to create healing for my people. I did that visually. We're giving it the herbal upload. And now we're going to create the healing mentally. You're going to be mentally liberated when you go to Google and put hashtag the new black mind. Over 500 videos are waiting for you. Make sure you check on Jesus Explained. The coin has two sides, the believer and the non-believer. Go to both sides of the coin. Stay in the middle so you could roll on. Be a coin. If you stay on one side of the coin and you don't know what's going on in the other side, you will be off balance. Your coin will be lean and you will fall. You want to have information so you could have clarity and make the right decisions. On planet Earth, you're not looking for truth. The only truth, T equal to change and balance, it's the only truth infinitely. Here, all information will change. If you write this down, the only truth is change and balance. The information you have, even the information written on the wall, will change over time. And whoever sees it will interpret it as it changed. Whoever writes it and transcribe it will interpret it differently as it changes. Nature changes. The environment changes. But change cannot change. And since change cannot change, change is the truth. Any words that does not have an opposite is a true word. Balance does not have an opposite. Balance or off balance, the word balance is still in there. You can say change and unchange, change is still there. Love and hate, opposites. Negative, positive, opposites. Light and dark, opposite. Change and balance is not opposite. So you look for the words that have no opposite in the physical or in the spiritual. Since everything in the universe is connected, connection has no opposite. You can't disconnect from anything in the universe. Everything is connected, and everything in the infinite has to coexist. And since everything has to coexist in creation, and it has to connect, and it has to change, these are the four C's. These are the laws of the universe and more. But this one here is balance, the big one. So with change and balance being the truth, you could apply it to your life. When you're having an argument, when you're overweight, when you're broke and you want more money, you could change your degrees, change your position. If you're schizophrenic, you could change where you live and have a better with nature. So God being a change and balance, a tool of the universe that works in all living ideas, emotions, thought, feeling, is changing and balancing. Government can change to balance. If you think you're poor, you could think you're rich and change your condition. Reason why I teach this universal truth is because after reading so much information and studying so long, I wanted to find what was truth in the iPhone, what was truth in the color of my hat, and what was truth in feelings, and I wanted to find what was truth in emotions, and I wanted to find what was truth in the bank account. I wanted to find something that was related to my bank account, to my emotions, to my thoughts, to my idea, to physical objects, to the black hole, to the seahorse, to words in book, to information, to making love, to liquid, to air, to my eyeglasses, to mosquito, to ants, to the color in the curtain. I wanted to find what was common in all things in the universe. And the only two things that's common, in order for the curtain to be red and maintain the color red, there's a change and balance happening. When you take the curtain to the sun, it changes its color because of the temperature of the sun. Because of the temperature on earth, in the room, and the dye, the change in the dye and the chemistry is why the curtain is red. And it remains red because of that that formula. So change and balance is making the curtain red. Because if you put the curtain in water, it becomes a new color. So change has an effect on the curtain. Change has an effect on my feelings, my thoughts, and my emotions. If somebody dies, my feeling changes. So all we are is a change in the balance. When you study from the Western world, they teach us that we are created. But since energy cannot be created nor destroyed, energy is infinite. So we change to become flesh in this realm. So change is what you are. And the fact that you're flesh, that is balance. You're balancing with oxygen, you're balancing with gravity, you're balancing with the sun, you're balancing with the temperature in order to be flesh. You're balancing in this dimension. That's why you are the way you are. It is not because you were created, it's because you were changed to balance. Your mind is a growth of change and balance. So your mind is part of the universal mind. The reason why I teach this is because we were taught that there is a beginning to us. And you know in your spirit there's no beginning to you. The beginning and end they write about in the beginning is when your brain developed in this realm to recognize the sun, the heavens, the trees, and being part of God. That's when you recognize the sun, the trees, the water. And that's why they say God created. It should be you recognize what was around you because you're connected to the network. So, since the butterfly is the God force, since the ants is the God force, and each element in the God network has a consciousness, then you know of a consciousness in the God force. And you wrote about what you recognize. So you wrote that in the beginning of your recognition of this realm, you saw the sun, the stars, the trees, and then you slept for 7 days. Because the infinite all does not sleep. But you, as flesh, it was good what you saw, and then you slept. After you didn't create it, you recognized it when you're conscious of recognition and the ability to write what you recognize. And that's how you wrote the Bible and why you wrote it that way. It was your brain recognizing what was around you. And because you're part of the God network, you said God created it. Because it is from you who recognized it, who documented. And all these words are experience of what you're experiencing. So you being a part of the God network, you're writing in reference of yourself. The challenge for you is that you were taught to look outside yourself. And this is where the confusion came when those around you, like you, wanted to be bigger than you. The butterfly, the ants, the waters, the stone. And man wanted to be bigger. So man wrote that he was bigger than all. And then man started to talk about a higher being. Because you're connected to all beings, my thumb, my head is connected with my thumb. My head is not higher than my thumb. And the sun is not higher than the earth because it's bigger. So since there's no separation, nothing is higher because it's an infinite body. So they start teaching you about wrong words to describe the infinite. So there's nothing that's higher. It's one network, one being, one infinite. So the way you speak is very infant because you were taught to use these words to try to separate things in the infinite. So you're thinking the higher being is separate from you. and you're trying so hard. And when you pray to the higher being, what you're doing is praying to the infinite self and the infinite all. So you're a line, just activating the line. But they can't, if they teach you this, you will have no fear of dying. And if you have no fear of dying because you don't die, then you fear nothing. And if you fear nothing, if you do not fear what they call death, then you will not have a fear to overthrow their power. So they had to teach us fear in order for us to be looking for a higher being all our lives and not being one, a part of the being. So forever we are at mercy. But if we empower ourselves as part of it, we will have to live a righteousness to activate it. Hence Ma'at. When you live with your truth and it's light as a feather, and you pray and you know you have the righteousness from the words of wisdom, nothing is wrong with the Bible. You just have to know how to read it. Nothing is wrong with the deities because we can assign any words to anybody and use that name as reference. Nothing is wrong with calling out the name of Jesus if that name is equal to love. It is your definition of how you use language and words to get you through the connection that you have to have with man and woman around you. So these words were created by you, being part of the all, in order for you to what? Big finger, balance. And as you learn how to change and connect and coexist for years, you wrote words and laws and rules so you could change and balance among your fellow man. When they intercepted the teachings of the ancient, they changed the information to comfort their power. And in not having the ability to explain what the all was doing, they created chaos for humanity. And there are people who come with, and people who are born with certain frequency, the ability to process information. I have a mind that could process information different than you. And I was lucky to have access to information. So many teachers come with a processing ability, with something to teach. My assignment was to teach change and balance because after my years of understanding, overstanding astrotheology, and what you call understanding books. So there's three grounds to stand on when it comes to the brain. Under, which is all books, your understanding of nature, philosophy, and people are written in books. Your overstanding is of the stars and the infinite outside that we can't see with the naked eye. And the inner standing of all things that you're inspired by. So these three grounds, but the one that is limited is the understanding. Everything you write here on planet Earth is the understanding. Everything you can see above is the overstanding. That's infinite. And the inner standing is infinite. The understanding is limited. Your books are limited. As what you understand and overstand affects you, then you write the books. So you're living in understanding confusion. You war among yourself, but that's what you're using to live among yourself. So nothing is wrong with it. Because that's what you're sharing. I can't understand and live with you if I don't know what you're feeling. So you write it in a book. And our ancestors did this over time. But what if we had a higher understanding called Ma'at, M-A-A-T? What if it took us 10,000 years to develop justice, righteousness? What if we had years to look at the stars without working? What if we were influenced by the body in the universe and our consciousness in the golden age when we build the pyramids? We would have a better understanding. What if someone came out of the caves and they intercepted our high understanding and gave us a lower understanding, and they stole this understanding from us and gave us a lower understanding? Our infinite frequency will be lowered. We will then be looking for truth all our lives, arguing with each other, looking for truth. And that's what they did. So then I had to go in my inner standing for 36 years and meditate and write everything my inner standing was telling me. And then I had to study from master teachers who had an overstanding of astrotheology. So when I looked at the understanding, which was the books, I could see my inner standing that I wrote in symmetry with what other teachers wrote. And then I could see how they were describing the stars. So, as human beings, what we do is we live in these three worlds, but we argue about the understanding. I'm not going to argue with you about the poem you wrote, because that's your understanding. That's coming from the infinite, we call God. So, this new way of thinking is very important, because now when you think that you don't have a beginning and end to you, then you never begin. And if you never begun, what are you doing? You're changing and you're balancing. And this is what makes you flesh. So my job from years of study was to create clarity. But if I wanted to find truth, I better find it in the mask. Because truth is the ultimate, right? Is love in the mask? Can the mask fall in love with the iPhone? Is love really universal? Is music really universal? Is the mask playing music? My feelings, my ideas, my consciousness, my touch, my vocal cords, we understand vibration. So music, they say, is universal to us. Does the stone dance? Does my taste have music? Does my taste change in balance? Does the stone change in balance? Look for the commonality in all dimensions. What we call the afterlife, that too is changing and balance, even though we don't even know what happens in the after transformation of this flesh. But we know the frequency constantly changes. And whatever realm the frequency is in, it has to constantly balance. So, from that commonality, when we look in this realm and see the commonality of change and balance, it's quite obvious. In the other realms, in the other dimensions, it must be happening. The purpose for me to do this is because it's 2022. And it's because I was born to do this, to teach something that could give to the young generation so they could use it to balance themselves. So, change and balance is a tool. Now, the other day I had an argument with someone, and sometimes I forget to use it. I said, oh, change and balance. What can I change? We're going to argue. Change your location. Shut your mouth. Email the person. Say, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead and speak. I'm sorry. So we have to try hard. It's a very hard thing to do. But when you do it, you could see the benefit and it creates more harmony. Because we have to find a better way to communicate. So our belief system, which will always change. And now let me teach you about the next. So you have the big B balance, and then you have this little b they call belief. Now, the challenge with believing is that your belief is going to change over time. So your belief does not remain the same. So even though you say you believe something to be true when you read it, when you read another chapter, you believe change because you add to it. So because your belief is not constant, it's changing. Change is more important than your belief. So having the flexibility to coexist with someone who believes in something different is very important. So this is where the Muslim can coexist with the Christians because of the change in belief. When our belief makes us inability to coexist, when you fight the law of coexistence, you'll get this C we call chaos. Now that's what's happening in the world. They're fighting the law of coexistence. And the law of coexistence states you all have to coexist. And if we don't coexist on planet Earth, we are going to have chaos here. So this is one of the reasons why our world is the way it is. And our job as spiritual being and all of you, especially you Jamaican women and people, you are all spiritual elders in your own right. We're all from the same village, me and you. We're all from the same place. We're all powerful in our own way. We gather here today to exercise a universal truth that no one can go above change and balance. It is bigger than love, because the stone is governed by it. The metal is governed by it. Ideas, emotion, and feelings. I have to change my ideas. I can't make love on the sun. So I change my ideas of making love on the sun to make love on planet Earth. So you even change your ideas to balance with your reality. So, all the people assembled today, I speak from a spiritual, infinite place. I wanted to make sure when I speak, I would speak in a circle, that there was no holes to my language, to what I'm saying. This is not that I don't know it all, but I'm looking for the commonality. Now, one time I asked one of my students to center themselves in every tree leaves and every toothbrush and every iPhone and every planet. Center yourself. And the student looked at the tree and look at all the leaves and was trying to center themselves in all the leaves. And I said to the student, if you center yourself within you, then you're centered in all things. So they were looking at the external to be centered, not the internal. So this is a letter to Jamaica number 7. And since 7 is a lucky number, I don't want the Jamaicans who hear me speak take me for granted, how I think, because they've never heard anything like this before. Don't take for granted what you're hearing now, because years from now, you'll hear people talking about this. Each and every one of us have a job to do. Each and every one of us are inspired. If you choose to hide your inspiration, don't shine your light or your enlightenment, don't say what you have to say because you're afraid of those who will call you names. If you are afraid, that's on you. You have yet to overcome fear itself. You've yet to master the infinite inspiration coming to you. You can never let no other being stop you from shining your light, from speaking, and from being as bright as you can be, as long as you don't harm anyone. So for me to build Jamaica a good life, I wanted to give the next generation the best mind, the highest level of consciousness. So when I leave, when I transform in flesh, they can know that there's no beginning and end to them, that they weren't created, they are a change and a balance, that they can never die, right? That there's nothing higher than the infinite them. They're part of it, so it can't be higher. I wanted to make sure that they have a closer connection with the all. I wanted to give them new words to overstand the all. I wanted to put them back in relations with the all. I wanted when they pray, their prayer will go to the all and not to earthly deities. I'm not even fighting a war. I'm not even competing with you, you or you. I'm just being me. And I'm not afraid of being me. And as long as I feel comfortable with my relationship, like you feel comfortable with your relationship, what you call God, we have to coexist. I try my best to practice the law of coexistence. So even if you are a Christian, you have to coexist with me. You can't hate me. You have to love me. Because when you try to hate me, When you try to disagree with me, we're in the same infinite. You can't separate from me. So I'm with you as you're with me forever. We must find a common ground with all the different things we believe in to have a commonality, an infinite unity, so we could move forward as a beautiful species that can think, act, and choose. The common ground is change and balance. It governs Christianity, it governs your belief system. So I came to teach the common ground, the foundation and the universal language, so we could all get back in tune with the universe. Because that's what God is doing, changing and balancing. And change and balance doesn't choose you. You have to choose it. You have to use it. Now it changes you, but you have to figure out how to balance. The change happen and sometimes you balance and sometimes you have to figure it out. When you're on a boat and you're paddling, you say, God, take the paddles. Well, if you let go of the paddle and say, God, take the paddle, you still have to hold on to the paddle to balance. So we humans, we don't have the ability to let go. So we're part of the God force. So we teach in this new class, the all is the one is not the all. I am not the God. I am a part of the all. Christians, the word is what saves you. The word came before the teacher because the teacher was even inspired by nature. The teacher was inspired. So inspiration is before the teacher. So the word came before the teacher. So is it the teacher that saves you or the word? Every teacher like myself, I'm not the one that's making you conscious of what I'm saying. It is the infinite that inspired me to say this. I didn't just get this overnight. I got this over time. And through that humility, I could try to create clarity because I've learned that coexistence is so important. So let's take, for example, the people who believe that Jesus is the Son of God and He's our light and our Savior. When we look back at the information, we understand why that was written that way. He's our salvation. Well, when you look in the Bible, you see the red words, those are powerful words assigned in 325 BC to a man they call Jesus. The words were assigned because those words, some of those words were written 4,000 years before. So when you take some words and make an assignment to a name, a person, and said the person said this, that entity now has power. The importance of primary information in Africa is finding out we have to have a bigger understanding of the all. Let's take it to the butterfly level. Let's take it to the ants and let's take it to the creatures. They do not care about anything you write. But are they in frequency with God? They know God more than we do because they're just living in harmony among themselves. The birds are in formation. The butterflies are flying together. They're at peace. The dolphins are playing. The fish are swimming. Well, we're the one that's fighting. So which is more advanced? The ones that are living in harmony with God are the ones that are living in chaos among themselves. Which is more godly and which understand God more, or which functions in God more than man? The birds, the butterflies, they are part of the all and functioning in harmony. We are the ones that were cast out of the garden of harmony because of our brain, quote unquote, picking the fruit from the tree. Don't. The fruit of knowledge is our brain developing. And through this ego of knowing and understanding, we start separating ourselves because of our mind. So when you let go of the little things you understand, then and only then you will be a butterfly again with no beginning nor end. So, my brothers and sisters, as we move forward into 2022, we dreamt of these times when we could have new teachings. We could try to help the ghetto youths to change things in their life to have a better balance. We could hold government accountable for a change in poverty in our country for a better balance. We could hold each other accountable in a change in the radicalness of our belief system to coexist with our family. You read the Bible, but you don't read the Septuagint. And it has chapters in there that you're supposed to receive. So, since you're such a believer, you didn't get those chapters. Does that mean you're less of a believer because you didn't get the complete translation? Uh-oh. All this time, you're reading the Bible, but you're not reading the book it came from. And some of the chapters in your book are missing. Does that mean you're missing some of the consciousness of your salvation? Oh no. Houston, we have a problem. How dare Randy tells me something I didn't know? And now you hate me because I know something you don't know. So the idea of not having access to information, the idea of us being slaves in the Caribbean, the minute we get something to drink, we brag with each other. One slave no more than the other slave. That's all we're doing. Because we don't know English, we don't know French, we don't know Latin, we don't know Greek, we don't know Medionetra, we don't know Hebrew, we don't know tree, we don't know this ancient language to find truer information. So all of us running around like English speaking slaves competing with each other. We don't have access to the books of Kabbalah. So the Jews are practicing Kabbalah, a high science. And we're practicing. So why are they more powerful than us? Why? Why? Because they took our material. When people keep books from you, they keep clarity from you. When they don't explain how the stars affect you in certain dates, so then you're looking at Passover and you don't know what they're talking about. You're looking at April and Palm Sunday and you don't know it's referencing the planets. You're talking about December 25th and you don't know it's about the sun rising at a certain date, and how it affects you as a being, how the planets above affect you. So you thinking you're on Earth and the sun and all these planets don't affect you, but they know what time of year they could go to war. They know how the universe works and how it's going to affect them. So after this year, February around so, come May, and come springtime when the sun is at its purest, when they round April around there, when they start to have their Sunday worshiping, their sun day worshiping, when the crystallized one is pure, when the sun is at its purest, in spring, the rebirth, the spring time, the rebirth of the earth. And that's why they practice this. But they're not telling us. So the videos that I speak about a lot of times, it's important that we are humbled. So now I'm going to allow Lisa to say something in the context of what I'm saying to explain to me what I'm saying.
You got me. I'm just absorbing everything that you're saying, just trying to take in all the teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just listening and absorbing. I mean, I'm trying to understand what you're saying and get the clarity and really, well, not just understand, right? It makes you look within yourself of all the things that you've been practicing, that you've been taught ever since you were a kid. When you don't have access to the real truth and the real information, so you just study what was put in front of you. And to really dig deep and to really search, you have to have that wanting to learn. You have to have that knowledge, that yearning to want to know, to want to learn, to really open your mind. You have to come into this with an open mind. Don't forget what you've been taught, but put it to the side and use that as a reference guide and come into this with an open mind. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Nadine? Is Nadine there? Okay, so Nadine is not there. All right, my people. So this is a letter to Jamaica, number 7. And 7 being a lucky number, I wanted to make this special for everyone so I could clarify myself, my purpose, and what my message is. Um, I come across very strong sometimes because in the past, when people come to us and try to make us convert or believe what they believe, they're very aggressive. So sometimes I have to change and balance and be aggressive with them. Sometimes I have to hit them, and sometimes I come calm. Sometimes I reason. So I'm always changing and balance. You will always see me change my dimension, not my personality, my dimension, because I have a different way of thinking. And you see, in the past, when men and women don't have the ability to express themselves on their own platform, our people are the first to say you are mad. If you're not saying what somebody else is saying, you're mad because you think differently. And thanks to travel and experience and exposure to books and knowledge, that we Jamaicans could have a new black mind, What I'm giving you is hashtag a new black mind. That's what I'm giving you. And that's the gift that we're going to need to balance as we move forward to the next time and the next time. So, my sisters and brothers, I'm not afraid to be who I am. You don't be afraid to be who you are. I can always coexist with you. I don't have a problem with what you believe in. And you should never have a problem in what I believe in or how I think, because we cannot escape each other. And if you want me to read the Bible, I'm going to tell you I read the Septuagint, and you should read it too, because it's what and where the Bible came from. And it's not about challenging each other with what's in the maze. It's about being able to coexist in love. It's about being able to change some of what you are so stuck on to be the truth. You're so stuck. This is it. And there's nothing more. Go tell that to a seahorse or a donkey and see what they say. They'll look at you like you're an idiot. If you can't relate to them, how can you relate to God? If you can't relate to a butterfly or a flower, how can you relate to another human being? Your belief is so strong. It's in your head. You have to start learning again to use your heart. It is your heart that speaks to the SUN. It is your heart that speaks to the infinite, not your mind. Because the leaf and the trees don't have a brain, but you still communicate with the leaves and the trees through your electrical magnetic heart that beats. That's how you're identified in the universe, by the beating of your heart. You have an address. You have an address because that's where, once your heart stops, your address will change. It's not what you believe in that makes you who you are, that defines you. It is your heart chakra. And once that is light in love, once you can coexist and love anybody, no matter what they believe, then you're truly in the frequency of the Almighty. You must learn to coexist. You must never allow your belief system to separate you from anyone. If you do that, that is because of your mind. And your mind is just a muscle. It is changing as you gain more consciousness of where you are in the universe. And all you're doing is gaining consciousness of the infinite you. That's every day you learn, you grow into this consciousness of this you that's infinite, and you're supposed to coexist, connect, change in what we call creation. So you could balance. And that's what I have for you guys. This is a letter to Jamaica, and this is important. Love and light to everyone.